In this section, we're going to take a look at creating day and night cycles and how we can change the lighting conditions of the scene that we created in the previous section. So we're going to take that exterior environment terrain scene and apply to that a day and night cycle and take a look at the impact of what happens to that scene when the lighting conditions change. In this video, we're going to start configuring our scene for a day and night cycle. To get started, we're going to create a key directional light that is going to represent the natural light source of the sun. In this section, I want to focus on the primary lighting for the exterior environment that we created in the previous section. In doing this, I'm going to be having a look at different features. First of all, I'm going to be looking at how the directional lights and the skybox and the day and night cycle is all interrelated here. Then I'm going to look at some ways in which we can control a day and night cycle inside the scene so that we can easily create daytime and nighttime for exterior environments. So what you can see in front of you is the exterior environment scene that I created in the previous section. And we have some post-processing effects that are applied to the camera to enhance how this scene will look when it is played back. So we've got some bloom going on here, we've got some noise effects, we've got some other kinds of ambient occlusion and post-processing effects that enhance the appearance of the scene here. Now, one thing I want to take a look at, in fact, if I switch back to the scene tab here, is we have several things that we did not add, at least manually. We have this kind of skybox scene in which we have a daytime kind of sky here. And we also have a single directional light that has been added to the scene. And by default, this is being given a kind of sun color. Now, whenever you have a procedural skybox in the scene, that is this kind of sky here, and a directional light, then there is a day and night cycle relationship created. Now, to create a procedural skybox, the kind that we have in this scene, you simply right click, choose create, and then select material. And with the material selected in the shader type, you want to make sure that you choose skybox. And then from the menu, it appears outside the recording window, there is an option that says procedural, which gives you quite a lot of control over creating a kind of skybox that can apply to an environment here. I'm just going to select that material, right click, and then choose delete to remove that because I already have a skybox applied to this scene. We can view more information about the procedural skybox applied simply by choosing Window and then choosing Lighting, which you can see at the bottom of the menu here, to view the lighting information for this scene. I'm just going to drag and drop to Dock, the Lighting tab, into the Object Inspector here. So for the skybox field, I can see that I have a default skybox applied. Now underneath that we have a sun field. And this really indicates which light in the scene represents the sunlight source in the scene and is used to control the day and night cycle. Now by default, when none is specified, then what Unity will in fact do is it will choose the first directional light in the scene. In our case, we have only one directional light, so this directional light will always be chosen. But if there are multiple directional lights in the scene, then we cannot be so sure. So often we want to drag and drop the directional light into the sun field to indicate that this is the lamp or the light in the scene that represents not just the primary light source for the sunlight, but also it's going to control the day and night cycle in the scene. I'm going to switch back to the Object Inspector tab here and double click on the directional light in the scene to kind of bring up the properties for that directional light. You can see that the directional light is way off over here inside the scene. Remember, the position of a directional light really doesn't matter. So I could position the directional light absolutely anywhere in the scene, and the position of a directional light has no effect at all. The only information that is important for a directional light is its orientation. And by this orientation that we have right here, in which the sun is rotated by 50 degrees around the x-axis, then what we're getting is a kind of midday scene here for the environment. Now I can control the time of day simply by rotating the light in the scene. So if I select the light and then I switch to the rotate tool by using the E key on the keyboard, and I click and drag this light, you can immediately see in the scene that not only is it controlling the rising and the setting of the sun, in fact if I just rotate my view here so we can see the sun in the sky, it can control the rising and the setting of the sun here. And not only that, notice that it controls the complete coloring of the procedural skybox. So the procedural skybox updates based on the rotation of the sun in the scene here. So that's a pretty neat feature. Just press Ctrl Z to undo that. So we can see that by rotating the directional light in the scene, we are controlling the time of day for the exterior environment. This gives us a clue as to how we can create a day and night cycle in our game. Effectively, we simply have to animate the rotation of this directional light during gameplay. We're going to see different ways in which we can control the rotation of this directional light